Hello, friends. Welcome to the LeggLife podcast. My name is Adam.
My name is Sherri.
Sherri Beth, we are on episode number
14.
Now, we need to start this episode with a confession.
Yes.
Sherri, what time is it?
It is 11:26 p.m.
What day is it?
Friday, March 20-something.
When do we upload our podcast?
Saturdays.
Saturday morning.
At 6 a.m.
About 20 minutes ago. What did I walk upstairs and say?
We don't have a podcast. And we both said, dang it.
Well, that's not the word we used. The word we used was a more colorful version of that word. You guys, we've been so good about podcasts. We haven't missed one yet.
No, and we talked about earlier today, we were like, oh yeah, we have a podcast we need to do tonight. And so we were like thinking of ideas, and we were kind of like, we had it on our mind, and then it just completely went away. And Adam was on like an Instagram live, and somebody was like, hey, what's a podcast on tomorrow? And he was like, well, poop.
Exactly. Again, I used a more colorful word. And so I was like, oh no. And so I walked up to stairs and I was like, Sherri, I have some terrible, horrible, no good, very bad news. And she like paused her movie. She's like, what's that? I was like, we don't have a podcast. And so, so here we are. Now, I will say, we felt complete freedom to like miss an episode.
Yeah, but I feel like we've been doing so good that I don't want the reason that we missed an episode because we just forgot. Like, if we miss an episode, I want it to be because like there's an actual thing occurring. Not like we just forgot.
Well, not only forgot, but like on a day that we genuinely talked about this.
Right.
Like we had this discussion earlier today.
Right. Yeah.
Going into today, we knew that one of the things on our list was to record a podcast.
Correct.
Here's the nice thing though about, and sorry, we're just having a little chit chat at the beginning of this. The nice thing for us is that most of these podcasts, and you guys probably don't know that, there have been a lot of these episodes that have had 0 edits. Like, we've recorded this and then literally just exported what we recorded. Yeah,
we haven't really had to, like, I think really the first 2, maybe, like, we had a little bit of, like, pauses and stuff that we just sort of felt like we needed to edit out. But, like, really from there, we just have been, like, back and forth. Like, it hasn't really been an issue to edit.
No. And so, like, what you guys are hearing, for the most part, for sure, is just, like, just a natural conversation. Like, this is just, like, one long conversation without edit.
Right.
So the podcast to us feels much more lightweight than like a vlog. Like a vlog, you sit down and there's just like a lot of editing and there's just a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
So even though it's like 11:30 at night, I'm also just like, there's a good chance we could have this podcast uploaded by midnight still.
Yeah.
So I feel okay with that.
Yeah. And the topic that we chose is relevant to kind of, I think, why we forgot about it.
Yeah, completely it is.
Because we bought a new bookcase and it came yesterday and I got it all put together. And so today, after work, we went through our books and we purged a lot, and then we figured out what we wanted out on our new bookshelf. Because I had 2 big bins of books underneath our bed. And so I was able to empty one of them onto a bookshelf so I could actually see the books that I have. And like I said, we also got rid of a bunch. So today, in our podcast, what are we talking about, Adam?
We're talking about our favorite book series.
Yeah.
We've done videos over on YouTube about like favorite books. We've done a lot of like different like booktube kind of stuff. You guys know that Sherri's like a huge book fan. I'm gonna do a little
nerd.
I'm gonna do a little plug for you real quick.
Go,
You ready?
okay.
Sherri also has a Bookstagram account.
I do.
Oh, so if you're over on Instagram, follow at Sherri's SHERRIS bookshelf. Sherri's bookshelf.
Yep.
And you post stuff over there about like the books you're reading.
Yep.
Just different literary things.
Yeah, anything having to do with books. So some book quotes, some books that I buy, some books that I'm currently reading. Anything having to do with books goes on my Bookstagram. And
one of the things we haven't talked about, like on the podcast much, is this part of your life. And so we thought, well, because we spent our day immersed in books, what if we just talked about our favorite book series?
Yes.
And I think as we talk about this, it will come out the difference between Sherri and I. So what we're going to do is we have 3 series that I have picked, my favorite 3 book series.
He made me pick 3.
And I limited, this is the funny thing, I'm going to say this right from the bat. I had to think of 3 that I've read.
I had to give him his third, which is probably something that we should probably have on like our shared list, but I'm just going to let you have it just so that you have 3.
I appreciate that because I have read some individual books, very few series. So I have 3 on my favorites. Sherri she somehow managed to limit it to 3 on her favorites.
Yeah. And it's like picking a favorite child. I don't know how you like narrow it down.
Missy.
Okay.
That's our favorite child, Missy, because we literally have 1 cat.
Well, sure, but okay.
Even if we had other kids, Missy, probably still my favorite. Right? Probably still my favorite.
She is kind of the best.
And then we have 2 series that are both shared series for us. These are series that we both love.
Yes.
And honestly, these would have been on our list, both of our lists, correct?
Yes. In fact, the second one on the shared list was actually like it was going to be my third. And you were like, that was on my list too.
Yeah.
So we moved it to the shared, and we had to figure out a third one for you.
So what are we classifying as a book series for this podcast?
So for me, I don't know if I would, I guess technically like duologies would count as series because it's more than one single book. Yep. But for me, I prefer, for me, trilogy or more. So 3 or more books, I would say is a series.
So for the purpose of this, that's what we went with. We went with a series had to be 3 or more books. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Sherri Beth, I want you to start because you love books a billion, jillion, million times more than I do.
Well,
so walk me through. Now, are these in order for you? Give me your first one. Are these in order?
No, I don't think that it's in order. I think that
your 3 favorite.
These are just 3 series that I have read multiple times. One of them, this first one I'm actually going to talk about, I can't even tell you how many times I've read it, and I was showing Adam like the state of the book that the first book, because I've read that one more than any others. And it like sitting on the shelf, it was rough. Like it doesn't want to sit nice because it's been read so many times.
So what series is that?
It's called Cheney Duvall, MD.
Okay.
It is by Gilbert Morris and Lynn Morris.
Okay.
I think I should probably know that, but it's a Christian series, and like I said, I've read them so many times, and it's about this lady named Cheney Duvall, and she is a doctor in an era of history when it was not really acceptable for women to be doctors.
Interesting. Okay.
It's set kind of right after the Civil War. And so she's very affluent. Her family is very affluent. And so the fact that she was not just kind of married off at 16 was kind of unheard of. But her parents both were just like, you pursue your own passions. Like, if this is what makes you happy, we will pay to put you through medical school, even though she's the only female. And that kind of stuff. And so it's really... I just love it because she's sassy, and she's like, I'm gonna be a doctor in a world where there are no female doctors, and her nurse is a male. And so
that's cool.
And it's just kind of like their love story really over the course of I think 8 books.
Spoiler alert.
But it's so good, and I love the characters and the writing style, and like I said, I can't even tell you how many times I've read this series.
Yeah, the condition of book number 1 shows.
Yeah.
Like how much you love that series.
Yep.
So Cheney Duvall, MD is your first book in your series.
Yes.
Or your first series in your list.
Yeah.
So mine is called Books of Ember. City of Ember is like I think it's the first book in the series. Mm-hmm. There's 4 books in the series. And oh no, here we go. Okay, here we go. So I read City of Ember series when I was just starting to get into like wanting to read. Sherri and I were together, and I was again, I've shared this before, that when you watch somebody read who loves to read, and I've seen this with Sherri, I've seen this with Auburn, I've seen this with other friends, where like you almost can watch them read and it makes you want to read because you can see how they're lost in a book.
Yeah.
And I've just never experienced that. And so I like kind of went out on this search to find books that did that for me. And City of Ember, the Books of Ember series, it's a series for like pretty young readers. Like it's not advanced at all. The books are really small. But it was the book that I was able to fly through And I really liked the story. And honestly, you know what's interesting to me is that even as I'm thinking now about the City of Ember series, I don't think I could tell you a ton about what it was about. But I remember the emotion that I had reading it, or the feeling that I had reading it, was that I'm actually enjoying this.
Which I loved. And you actually like read the whole series.
All
and
four
then
of
you
them.
were like, you need to read these.
And then this is where it gets
And
really
then what
funny.
happened?
Because like I was, okay, you guys imagine this. Like I'm not a big reader. I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, my wife's gonna be so proud of me. I read a 4-book series.
I was so proud of you.
And like I love these, and now Sherri's gonna read them, and she's gonna love them. And Sherri read them, and she was like, "These books are for babies."
That's not what I said.
Okay, that's not.
And
what
I
you
didn't
said.
finish the series. I think I read the first 2, and I just couldn't do it because for me, it was just too easy.
Oh no!
Like it was. They are skewed a little bit younger. It was very easy reading, and for me, like I tend to read. Well, I mean, I'll read anything, but like. They didn't capture my attention because
you were trying to be so kind now.
I was trying to be kind the whole time. Like when I was trying to read them, I was just like, okay, like I got through the first one and it was just like, this is kind of a hard pass, but he loves these so much, so I'm going to keep trying. And so I made it through the second one, and I couldn't do it anymore.
Well, I appreciate you trying. I will say it's a series that I would actually like to read again, because I sort of feel stuck right now with reading. Like I think I've read 3 or 4 books this year so far.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm doing like much better than I do normally.
Yeah.
But I haven't found those books yet. And none of the books I've read this year.
They just like capture your attention.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And so
I have some recommendations for you.
I'm not shocked by that at all. So the first series for me is the Books of Ember series. So Sherri, what is your second series?
If you have seen any of our vlogs or anything that pertains to us ever, you will not be surprised at this. The Selection series. I read them several times. I actually just recently read them again. I just really like them. They're YA kind of dystopian. And I like the characters, and I like the storyline, and I really like this series.
Yeah. It is,
and I've gotten a few of our friends to read them recently too, which I like.
That's what I was just gonna say. Is that it's a series that you've talked so much about and you've like promoted so much.
Auburn and I both, yeah, like Auburn.
You guys love.
Yeah,
this
we
series.
kind of like ganged up on some of our friends and we're like, no, but for real, you need to read the series.
Next time you and Auburn are together, whenever that may be, you guys need to do this podcast.
Yeah, probably.
You and her, oh my gosh, it would be a 13-hour
I was
long.
saying it would be so long if we had to like just talk about all our favorite books.
I think we need to do that. I think that the next time you two are together, like you two need to do like a books podcast, because yeah, like this is a series that you both love.
Yeah.
So do you think I would like the Selection series?
I don't think so. I feel like it's probably a little heavy on like the love story.
Got it. Because I hate love.
No, but I'm
kidding.
That's not the kind of stuff that like grabs your attention. Like
totally.
you want like the action, you need like things to like keep go.
Yes.
And it's a beauty pageant basically.
Yeah.
Is really kind of what it comes down to. And so, and her kind of fighting for this top spot. And so which I just made it sound really terrible, and it's really not. It's like, it's actually really good. But like, I just feel like for you, I don't know that it would capture your attention enough to make you want to read it.
Okay, that's fair. So Selection series is your number 2. My number 2 is The Hunger Games. Yeah. So I think I've shared this on our vlog before. When I read books, the things that I tend to be drawn to are like dystopian. Like I love that kind of stuff, like post-apocalyptic, those sort of things. So the Hunger Games world that it's set in, like that setting, is totally up my alley.
Right.
And then there was so much of it that I just really enjoyed. Like in some ways, like I enjoyed like the self-sacrifice of like the I Volunteers tribute, right? The like sacrificing one for the good of another. But then kind of the action in like the Hunger Games.
Right, in the games themselves.
In the games themselves. Like there was just a lot of it that really kept my attention. Through the first couple of books for sure. I would say that as the series went on, I lost interest.
All 3 books.
Yeah. So honestly, I struggled to finish the 3rd book.
Yeah.
Like book 1, flew through and loved it. Book 2, I would say flew through and really liked it. The 3rd book, like it felt a little bit like walking through mud, and I don't necessarily know why. I should go back and read it, and I haven't read the new one that came out. What is it? Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? And
Yeah, something like that.
Puppies and Ponies? It's something like that.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet either, actually.
So The Hunger Games was one that I really liked. Plus, it was nice because I don't read a lot of, well, I don't read a lot of books, but I don't read a lot of books that are a part of like the pop culture conversation, right? Like a lot of books that a lot of people are talking about. And this was one of those things that like I read it and I was like, oh yeah, well, let's talk about this because I've read that book as well. You know what I mean? So it's like it was nice to be able to actually be a part of book conversations because I had read those.
Right.
And those books were like huge at the time.
Yeah.
So The Hunger Games to me would be my second one. Sherry Beth, the last one in your list.
Last one in my list. This is another series that I've read several times, and it's on my list to read again this year because it's been a couple of years and I just need to. This is the Iron Fey series.
Okay. It's about Tina Fey.
Nope.
It's not?
It's about fairies.
Oh.
And it's not like Tinkerbell fairies, but like the big, powerful, like fairies.
Okay. Yeah.
And it is from the perspective of what she thinks is she's just a normal human girl. And come to find out her father is actually Oberon, who is the king of summer.
Okay.
Kind of harkening back to Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yep.
So those characters all make an appearance in these books, and so she finds out that she is half fae and that she is kind of heir to the throne and whatever, and so it's kind of her journey of discovery of who she is and really like her family history that she thought was one thing and was completely another. And so I really enjoyed this series.
And it's one you said you want to read again this year?
Yes.
Okay. So my third series is the Legend series.
Yeah.
By Marie Lu.
Yeah, this is one that I gave you.
Yeah.
This should probably go on the Us because I love
True.
this series as well.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I really like the way, again, this goes back to why I struggle with reading, is that I cannot press through when something loses my attention. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if things get slow, like, you've lost me. You've got to keep me kind of hooked. And the way she writes does that for me. Yeah. And so I haven't read a lot of, because I know she has like a number of books out. And I feel like she's one of those authors that I probably should just try to read everything she writes.
Yeah, I think that you need to read the Wildcard, the Warcross, not Wildcard, that's the second book, but Warcross series.
Okay.
Well, and that's another one I'm not sure is a series because it's just two.
Oh.
But so good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like the way she writes, like it just keeps me, and like the things she writes about tend to be like up my alley.
Right. I really think you would enjoy Warcross.
Yeah?
Yep.
Well, I mean, if it's anything like Legend, or if it's in that style, or even like her writing style.
It's her writing style, but it's a completely different world.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's really good.
So maybe Warcross needs to add to my list.
For sure.
Do we own it?
Yes.
Oh, well, there we go.
We own the digital copies of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Legend is one of those series that we both love. But it was hard for me because I don't typically read book series. Like,
yeah,
it's hard enough for me to finish like a single standalone book. It's really difficult for me to push through an entire series.
And see, for me, it's almost opposite. Like, I will push through a semi kind of book if it's like the first or even kind of in the middle of a series because it's a series. I love series because you get to know the characters, you get to know, like, you kind of deep dive into character development, which doesn't really happen in like a standalone book. Like, it's really hard to have this fully developed character in one book.
But over the course of a whole series.
But over the course of a series, you get to like dive into who this character is. Yep. And that's what I like about it.
Well, I think like if you're listening to this podcast, on Monday, we are putting out a new vlog over on our YouTube channel, and we're showing our whole bookshelf like project.
Yeah.
In that vlog. And one thing you'll notice when we show the bookshelves is that it almost is exclusively series on a couple of the bookshelves. And I actually didn't realize it till earlier today how many series of books you have. That like the individual standalone books really are the exception to you.
Yeah, there's very few of them. They would all probably fit on one shelf.
In fact,
not one case, one shelf.
I bet that I have more individual books than you.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But you have like a bajillion % more book
in the
series than
yeah,
me.
because that's what I like about the series, is that you get to know the characters, and that's why I fall in love with a series, because it's so much deeper.
Well, speaking of that, there are 2 series that fell on the us list.
Yes.
And these are both a number of books long.
Mm-hmm.
And these are 2 of my... Honestly, these may be my 1 and 2. If I was ranking these of everything, these might be 1 and 2 for me. The first one, Sherri, is Harry Potter.
Obviously.
Yeah. This was one of my, and it sounds so dumb because like Harry Potter's, they're kids' books. I mean, they were written for like,
right.
Younger readers. But like the fact that I've read the Harry Potter books, to me is so like, that is such a point of pride. Like,
I was so proud of you when you were like, because I think it was just like one day you were just like, I'm just going to read the Harry Potter books.
Exactly,
and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And you did. Like, you picked them up and you started reading them. And it was really funny because I think we were on a plane somewhere. I don't remember where we were going, but we were on a plane and you were reading the 5th book, which is my favorite, The Order of the Phoenix. And you were probably halfway through the 5th book, and I was sort of like looking like over your shoulder, and it just reminded me how much I loved the books. And I was just like, dang it. So I actually went back and I started reading from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I still beat you.
You still beat me. That's the thing. I was halfway through book 5.
There's only 7 books.
And Sherri starts back at book 1 and beats me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
One of the things that hooked me about Harry Potter was that I felt so connected to the characters and the story and like the narrative that was being told. Like when I read Harry Potter, I am a part of the wizarding world.
Right.
Like, and it was so fascinating to me. Like, there's not been another series that has done that to me, that so made me feel a part of that world, to where, like, once I got through, I don't know, probably book 1 or 2, there was no way I wasn't finishing the series.
Right.
Because, like, it hooked me and I was there.
Yeah, and one of the things I really appreciate about J.K. Rowling and the way that she writes, or at least the way that she wrote the Harry Potter series, is, so it starts out with Harry being 11 years old, or turning 11 years old.
Right.
And the themes of that book were pertinent to 11-year-olds. And then the next one, he's 12, and it's pertinent to 12-year-olds. And I feel like she did such a good job of making the theme of the book and even the writing style of the book be relevant to whatever age Harry was at. And so by the time he got to 17, it's much more adult and much more like he's facing things that are harder and he's dealing with things that are harder, because 17-year-olds usually have bigger problems than 11-year-olds. And so it just, like, that grew, and I really appreciated that.
See, I just like Hagrid because he has a beard and rides a motorcycle. So this is why...
And because he's amazing.
Hagrid's the best. Hagrid may be my favorite character in the entire series.
Yeah.
Like, Hagrid is like my literary Baymax.
Yeah. He's pretty amazing.
I just love him. So the first series on our us list is Harry Potter.
Yeah.
The second series...
The Chronicles of Narnia.
Love it.
I love this series. I grew up reading this series.
Okay.
And so that's another series. I can't even tell you how many times I've read these books. So many times. And love them. And I finally got you to read them. Mm-hmm. And you were like, okay, these are actually really good. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I got Auburn to read them this summer.
Yeah.
She had never read them before, and she loved them.
Yep.
They're so good.
So I had seen the movies first.
Right.
And I love the Chronicles of Narnia movies. Those are some of my very favorite movies. Honestly, those are the kind of movie, and we've talked a lot about this over on YouTube, I struggle with movies at home.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's something about it that I struggle to focus, I struggle to pay attention, I fall asleep a lot. Like, movies it's difficult. I'd rather watch a movie in a theater because I feel like it keeps my attention more.
Because there's no other distractions.
I think that's it.
And I think that at home, you're like, ooh, I could be on Facebook, or ooh, I could be editing a vlog, or ooh, I could be. And so you're doing other things while you're watching the movie.
Yes.
Because they're there to do.
But I feel like the Chronicles of Narnia are some of those movies for me that like I would always be in the mood to watch. Mm-hmm. They're just amazing. And so I went into the books loving the movies. I also went into the books so I didn't grow up in the church, but like I have been in church culture for a long time. Mm-hmm. And Chronicles of Narnia are just one of those things that get referenced all of the time.
Right.
Right? And so like I had this understanding of them. And so I went into the books excited, but not necessarily knowing what to expect. Now there are definitely books in the series I like more. There were a couple books that I did feel were a bit of a chore for me to get through.
Slog through a little bit.
Yep, totally. Mm-hmm. But overall, I just loved that series so much. Like there are quotes and like lines from that series that will stay with me for the rest of my life.
And like the creation scene. It's one of the most beautiful. And I'm actually kind of glad that there's not, well, I think there's like a BBC version of like the Magician's Nephew, mm-hmm. but there's very few movie versions of the Magician's Nephew. Like most of them are, The Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe, and kind of like the main, 3 or 4 big ones. But I'm really glad that there's just not a lot of movie depictions of this, because I don't think that movies would do it justice. I feel like the words in the books are so much more beautiful than anything that we could dream up and try to make happen.
Yep. So I love this series. Actually, this is a series that I would like to go back and read. Mm-hmm. And it's a fairly short series, or well, I say the books are fairly short. Mm-hmm. So not hard to kind of plow through. So it's one that's on my list to read again. Yeah, Chronicles of Narnia, definitely the second one on our us list.
Yeah.
Sherri Beth, how many books have you read this year so far?
18, I think.
Okay. I think I'm on 4. I think I'm at, because I finished Station 11, which was my third one. Mm-hmm. So I'm about to start 4. I need to find my 4th book.
I'm proud of you, though. That's great.
Thank you. It is good. So the books I've read this year, and I'm forgetting the first one. I read War of the Worlds. I read Station 11, and there was one other one that I read that was like super mediocre, but it was short. And I'm not counting the horse, the boy, the mole, the frog, and the cow.
No, for me to count a book in my book list, it has to have chapters.
Makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm looking for my book. But yeah, I would like to find more series that I like, because again, getting lost in Harry Potter, going back to like my City of Ember, the series you thought was for babies. Like it just, I remember reading that. I couldn't even tell you the name of probably 2 of the 4 books in that series. But I just remember so many times thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm liking this. I bet this is what Sherri feels like.
Yeah.
And I miss that. And so I'd like to keep exploring, keep trying to find series. I do feel like lately I've gravitated toward like single individual books. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's time for me to look into like trying some series.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Are you in the middle of a series right now?
I am currently reading the most recent and last book in the Court of Thorns and Roses.
That's right.
Series. It's called A Court of Silver Flame.
That's right.
Yes.
And good?
It's so good. So I've read the series before, and I didn't know that this other book was coming out. And I saw it on a friend's Instagram that it was coming out, and I was like, wait, what? And so it's kind of a continuation of the series, but from the perspective of somebody different. So I really like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So friends, that's it. Our favorite book series.
Yeah. This was really hard for me to do.
Well, because you have so many.
I have so many, and I have so many like book series that I would recommend, and like that I've just loved. And so it's hard for me to like narrow it down and just be like, these are my favorites. It's really hard.
What's the longest book series you ever read?
Oof.
Wasn't there one you had that was like 40 some books?
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
That Gilbert Morris one.
Yep. There's a House of Winslow.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yep. By Gilbert Morris. And yeah, it's wow. That's a long series. I actually just got rid of them because it was like 42 books I owned.
And there were more.
There's more in the series that I just got way behind and haven't like finished reading them. But yeah,
there are more books in that series than I've read in the last like 3 or 4 years. That's genuinely insane.
It's a lot. Yeah.
I think Harry Potter's my longest series.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've read anything longer than that.
But those are some, like, especially near the end, like, really
they're
starting
beefy.
with, like, book 4. Like, they're big books.
Totally.
Right?
So there you go, friends. Our favorite book series. Would love to hear your guys' feedback on this. Are there any series that you love? Are there any series that you think we need to read?
Yeah. I'm always looking for more recommendations. Wow.
Struggled a little, but you got through it. I'm proud of you.
Fine.
Thoughts and prayers.
It's almost midnight. So
It is almost midnight. Want you guys to do one thing for me. I want you to go follow Sherri's bookshelf on Instagram.
Thanks.
I am so proud of you for starting that.
It's been fun.
I love that.
Yeah, I haven't been as active on it as I thought I would be.
Well, you've also been trying to stay alive.
Correct. I was just going to say, but I've also been trying not to die. So it's been a little bit rough to remember to post, but
totally.
Yeah.
So Sherri, we end every podcast.
Oh no.
I know.
I did not think about this.
Okay, well, how about this? I'll go first then.
It's not going to help.
It's not going to help? Okay, so we end every podcast by asking 2 questions.
Yeah.
That Sherri loathes every single week, and one of these times I'll get rid of them, but today's not going to be the day. And those questions are, who is someone that has been inspiring you lately? Or what is something that has been bringing you joy? You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so my thing that's been bringing me joy is something that I did not expect to bring me joy. So the last 2 days, yesterday and today, got together with our executive team at work in the nonprofit, and we had, so we do this training called Engage Training, and it's one of my favorite things we do. It's one of the most impactful things we do, and basically what Engage is it gives you the tools to walk with broken people in a broken world, right? Because sometimes we struggle with that, where when we're with somebody, we feel like we have to fix somebody. We struggle with just like being with. And Engage equips people to do that. And every time we finish an Engage training, I'm really proud of what we do. So the last 2 days, we went into this like, almost like strategic planning all around Engage, sort of trying to finalize it. Like, let's like firm up the content and let's like figure out like the flow and just like, in some ways, like start to put the finishing touches on this training that we've done for a few years. That's so impactful that I just care so much about. The problem is like when I think of strategic planning, like I kind of want to die. Like it sounds horrible to me. Like I'm like there's no way we can do this via text. Like is there any way? Like and so I went into it just kind of like I don't know, not excited. And I left today and I just had this like soul level joy over a few things. Number one, just like the people that I get to work with. It's so cool to be able to walk away and be like, you know what? I genuinely like them, but also like they're really talented and they're really smart. And like, I believe that God has us all together for a very specific reason. And so that was just really cool. But then around the content, I just felt so much joy around like what we did. And so to me, it was like, I don't know, going into the last couple days with this thing that I thought was going to be like walking through mud and a task and just not the way that I'm gifted or the way that I think, but then to be able to come out of the other side of it and be like, you know what? This was awesome. It was really nice.
I'm glad.
So that is what has been bringing me joy. Sherri,
yeah.
Do you have an answer?
Oh no.
Oh no? Maybe?
I don't know. I think I talked about this earlier, like in another podcast. It's been increasingly difficult for me to find something inspiring or joy-filled as this illness has gone on. And I am a month into my diagnosis.
Yep.
And I feel like the last week has been nothing but backsliding.
Yeah. Setback and setback.
Yep. And so like that is actually discouraging. So I don't know. Like I guess it's getting hard for me to, like I'm still stuck in the house and I'm still like, now I just feel like I'm going backwards and not getting better.
Yep.
So
I think that's a good answer.
I don't know if I have anything yet.
Yeah.
Let's give me another week to think about it.
I think that's totally fair. Actually, I do think you have something. It might be a small thing.
Okay.
I think that bookshelf brought you joy.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I watched you today, like, light up.
Because I got to play with my books.
Yeah, I watched you light up over that in a way that I haven't seen in months.
Yeah.
Like, you were giddy. Not just, like, even when I got home. So when I got home yesterday, Sherri was already putting the bookshelf together. And so I walk into the living room and she has, like, tools out and, like, there's wood pieces places. And she, like, the smile on her face because she's getting to do book stuff.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good answer. I'll take that.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to give you an answer. That's just something that I watched
that you observed.
I watched you experience joy in, like, a new bookshelf from Amazon.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. I will say that did make me happy today.
Totally.
Yep.
And I witnessed it, and
it gave me some life.
Yeah, absolutely. And the living room looks amazing because of it.
The living room looks great.
So good.
Yep.
And these people, these wonderful listeners, will get to see it on Monday on our vlog.
Yes.
If you're not subscribed to LeggLife, what the heck are you doing? Go subscribe. But friends, as always, thank you so much for listening. This was a fun one. We enjoy hanging out with you guys here on the podcast. 14 episodes in a row, Sherri.
Yeah.
So proud of us.
Even at midnight.
Even at midnight. Yeah, technically this podcast will be up later today.
Right.
Thank you guys for listening. If you don't follow LeggLife, you can go subscribe to us over on YouTube. Connect with us on Instagram. Again, both on Sherri's Instagram and on LeggLife's. Mm-hmm. Also connect with us on Facebook. And I want to give a big thank you, big shout out to our Patreons who support us financially every month and basically make all of the stuff that we do possible.
Yes.
They give us the resources, which gives us the time and the margin to create stuff and to do cool things like podcasts and YouTube videos and all the other fun stuff. So patrons, thank you. We love you guys. And as always, we'll see you guys next week on the next LeggLife podcast. That will not be recorded at midnight, right?
Right.
Well, maybe.
Well,
we'll see.